Good evening and welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative, and it works to destigmatize talking about mental health. And again, the importance of discussing mental health is that it both normalizes you centering your mental health, but it also gives permission to those around you to discuss theirs. And that's really how we're going to get through this together. Tonight, we got a great show for you, though. We have planned comedian Stephen Kramer Glickman and life coach Michael Buckley. And we're going to be talking about, again, how to deal with mental health in this time of self-isolation and talking about all the different things that are going to emerge. And that's what's most fascinating to me is, again, still seeing my patients via teletherapy and also individuals in my life. We're talking about encountering mood issues and levels of stress and depression and things that we're not familiar with. Why? Well, because this is a new experience for all of us. And so the thing I want people to think about is care and compassion. We have to have care and compassion for the ways that we're initially responding to everything. Because right now what's happening is not necessarily healthy or what's best for us. It's warranted. It's important. We need to keep distance from individuals physically. We have to be staying home, but psychologically, our mental health does not thrive in such an environment. And so we're always talking about different ways to cope at our best. But the number one thing tonight I want you to know is care and compassion, because individuals are panicking and they're saying, what is this? I'm not normally a depressive or an anxious person. And I'm trying to explain to everyone that, those around us and us ourselves are going to have to encounter new elements, new weaknesses, but also new strengths. And so ground yourselves in that, but also know that it's a time to set boundaries. And what that means is we really do want to think collectively. We want to reach out to others in our lives. We want to be maybe more available than we normally would because everyone's going through a lot of the same, mental health struggles and loneliness and isolation. But you do want to still check in with your body. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, super anxious, dysregulated, or you feel like you're getting infected or taking on others' emotional experience, it is okay to set boundaries. It's a powerful act of mental health, but also self-care to say to someone, you know what, I'm struggling today or I'm struggling right now. Please reach out to someone else. I'm not myself in the most anchored place or the most grounded place to really help you with your mental health issues or struggles. And there's a multitude of resources. We are one of them. And at the end of the show, we're also going to give you a list of resources. But again, it's about normalizing some of the mental health issues and struggles. Don't make it worse by panicking or feeling anxious. Care and compassion. And just really kind of holding things a little looser. We have to practice letting things go with ourselves and those around us. Let's switch gears though. Right now, we're going to be talking to Stephen Kramer Glickman, actor and comedian. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. Hang on. I'm going to adjust. There we go. Adjusting framing.
There you are. We gotcha.
There we go.
So the first thing I'm asking a lot of individuals is, how is your mental health?
My mental health is okay. I think a big part of it is checking in with, friends and other comedians, just to make sure that everyone's doing all right. I think my biggest concern was my family right away, because I have a wonderful mother and she doesn't live in the same town as me, so I was a little concerned there, but I talk to her every day, and she's doing quite well, so that's good. Thank God.
Is she following the rules, or are you having to do a little reverse parenting with her?
I think in the beginning it was just trying to get her to believe it was as serious as it was. But I think that's a common issue that most people have with their parents, is trying to get their parents to hang tight and hang at home and not but what's great is when she does go out, the thing that she's going out to do is riding her horse. So that's so she's by herself. Okay. When she goes out to do that, and that I feel like is not such a bad thing.
Yeah, I had to have a strong worded conversation with my mom because she was sad that no one would go to the movies with her.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
I'd rather her be riding a horse solo,
Yeah, I get it. I know. It's weird.
So from the outside, I'm not a comedian, although I like to think I'm funny sometimes. It's easy for us to think that comedians are always happy and always full of joy and always able to make themselves and others laugh. So in what ways has that been a resource for you or possibly just distant from you?
Well, I think, comedians are, in some ways more equipped to deal with situations like this because we are constantly looking for like the funny side of depressing and hard times. But on the other end, so much of our lives has to do with being around other people and performing in front of other people that when that's taken away, it's it's very difficult. And you have this need as a comedian to perform, to be out there, and to be doing. You're constantly writing and coming up with new material, and then you're like, where can I do it? You can't do it anywhere. So like I've seen a lot of other comedians fall into this over the last week or so, where you end up performing on Zoom or Instagram for a bunch of for random people that are paying you through like Venmo to watch you perform, which is really crazy, but it is happening constantly. I just did a stand-up show sitting at my desk for the Jewish Federation. It was like 25 couples on Zoom, and it was the weirdest thing I've done. I think the whole time, because you're performing, looking at people's faces and not looking at an audience, but looking, at like four, six people's faces, and then you go, I don't want to look at these faces anymore. And then you swipe over and you look at a couple other faces. You're like, that guy's not laughing. That guy's just staring at his phone, and his wife is wandering in the background drinking. Like, what are we doing? But you have to work out material. You gotta do things, and it's one way I've seen a lot of comedians, doing stuff. Also, podcasting and going live on Instagram has been helpful to be able to like still connect with an audience and talk with people. But mental health wise, I think what a lot of people are doing is just talking to each other, calling each other, checking in. I mean, my phone bill's going to be insane when this is over.
I think that's what it is. I just got my phone bill and I was like, wait a minute, that's a little high, right? It's not normative. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing, thank you for doing what I can't hear you. Say again.
I said, why did I call that? There's like, you're calling people sometimes that you just miss seeing around. You're not even calling, you've already called all of your close friends in the comedy world. Then you start calling other people that you don't even talk to normally, just because you need some flavors,
I think that's my favorite though, is seeing some of the most random people you haven't spoken to in 15 years hitting you up like, how you hanging in there? And you're like, whoa, look at you.
Yeah. Oh, I got some of those calls. Some of the, I haven't spoken to you in 20 years, but I wanted to see how you're holding up. And you're like, all right, I'm good, I guess. This is the thing that I personally enjoy the most about the whole thing is, I know enjoy is probably the wrong word for it, is when I go on Instagram and I do like an Instagram live thing, I have my fan base on the Instagram because of being on Nickelodeon for so many years. I've got this bizarre fan base that stretches all the way across the world. So if I do a live stream in the middle of the day, I may get people, from, Brazil and America and, Canada, stuff like this. But if I do one around 10 o'clock at night, I'm talking to people from Austria and Czechoslovakia or the Czech Republic and talking to people in Poland and Italy and, Thailand. And we're all going through the same thing. We all have we're all experiencing the exact same thing at the same time, which is fascinating. That's a fascinating thing to be able to have happen.
Yeah, it's so honest. And that's kind of what, if, people have asked me for what do I hope comes out of this? And I think it's that we have these random demarcating lines of different states and countries, but hopefully it'll remind us that we're all a little more connected than we realize. But as far as what you're saying earlier, thank you for being willing to put your work out there on Instagram, because I know for a lot of people, even some people in my practice, they're saying that watching people like yourself is sometimes the only social contact they have, because not everyone has family members or loved ones to reach out to. So know that the work you're putting out there for some people is a bulk of what centers their mental health.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. And same thing with you. What you're doing is fantastic. Helping people, get through this, and check in and respect their mental health. I think it's a huge thing, and in this weird business, in the Hollywood game, and so my friends, that are in New York are Broadway people. All you do is work and prepare and study and write and try to push your career forward. And we're all kind of stuck in this time right now where we can't really do anything, because the industry, all of our industries are kind of shut down in a lot of ways. So something like mental health wise, you kind of have to keep reminding yourself and your friends and the other people that you work with, it's okay to not write the world's greatest novel during this time period. Like, if you happen to, that's fine, but it's not necessary to come out of, you're not going to come out of the COVID-19 era and people are going to be like, I can't believe all you did was play video games and eat grilled cheese sandwiches. Like, it's good. It's okay. If that's what you want to do, then do that,
Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because I think that that's a weight a lot of people have on their shoulders, is what kind of productivity they're doing in this time. And, I want people to focus more on self-care, right? Like, that's what's going to help our mental health, but also not add that like other thread of what I'm doing with that time, because how unmotivating this can be for most of us.
Oh my God. Before this whole thing started, I was writing a television show with Mel Brooks, one of the most famous, legendary people in history, and working out of his office and writing and making a thing. And it was extraordinary. It was an extraordinary period of time. It was 4 or 5 months of just getting to work with him, and all of that had to get shut down when this started. And that's how that goes. That's, it's for the best for everybody involved and for the health of everybody involved. That's what you got to do. But, you just kind of sit, I'm writing other stuff and trying other stuff and coming up with other projects. And I'm doing a lot of animating right now, which is a gigantic pain in the ass because I'm not very good at it. But I just have content and things I wanted to do, and animation is such a tedious thing that I was like, well, there's something that'll take up a lot of my time. So I've been doing a lot of that, which is I have some of that on my Instagram. If you want to take a look, there's some stuff on there that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have me trying to do a puzzle, so that's interesting content coming out of my IG.
Hey, I love it. I mean, exercise is also very helpful,
yes.
and finding ways of doing that without putting yourself in danger, I think is yoga mats are great. You spray them down, put them in the stairwell in your building, and do stuff like that. Find ways of staying healthy, during it, and learning how to cook. I'm a terrible cook, but I'm learning.
I'm staying away from the cooking. Stephen, we have 2 questions that came in. I'd love for you to answer them with me. And for those that are just joining us, if you want to join the conversation, you can do so by sending your questions to our Loveline IG page in the DMs, or by tweeting at #I'mListening. Stephen, the first question asks, I'm an aspiring comedian, and I was always taught to push boundaries, but now I'm not so sure where the boundary is during the situation. People seem to be wound up tightly at the moment. What do you think?
Look, I think the rule is always going to be the rule. Funny is funny, and if you are able to come up with something that is original and funny about what we're currently going through, then absolutely, write it down and use it when you can. But that goes for any subjects. That goes for anything. I think, you know, if you're a strong enough comedian and you feel the will and the need to make a joke about a subject that is taboo, then you should absolutely do it. And then it's just on you whether or not it's funny enough to hold up,
Beautifully said. And here's another question we have for you, Stephen. This one asks, trying to veg out and distract myself from the news, what are some shows or podcasts I can check out for the LOLs, the laugh out louds? What are your recommendations?
Oh, man.
Keep it clean.
I posted a top 10 list, so this might be in reference to that. I posted a top 10 list of my favorite shows to binge watch, and none of them are real. They're all...
Thanks. I'd be at home Googling them all, desperately trying to find them. Thank you.
Yarn Stars and Shark Tank and instead of Bar Rescue, it was like I don't know, like just a Farmer's Market Rescue. Like it was just a bunch of fake shows, and then people comment and they leave. They go, "Oh, I watched that one," and you're like, "No, you didn't. It's not real." But as far as like great comedy to watch currently, Tiger King.
Oh yeah.
Netflix. Oh,
that's
I
real.
love it. It's a phenomenal thing to watch. I think there's a lot of watch the entire last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's absolutely extraordinarily funny. My stand-up album, Voices in My Head, came out literally the first week of all of this happening.
That's great timing, though. People are home. They're looking for material. I was just going to tease that. Well done.
Absolutely. So that's something to listen to, and it's very funny, and you can get it on Pandora for free, or if you want to be super supportive and get it on iTunes, you can get it there. But that's very funny. But I mean, I always go back and find myself in a rotation of like rewatching The Office, or trying to go back and watch old comedies from the 70s and 80s, like Tootsie, things like this. I just watched Outbreak.
Oh,
the movie
stop.
Outbreak.
I'm warning against that. That's putting people into a literal panic.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
That is, if you don't want to sleep tonight,
yeah,
that's a good movie to watch. Yeah, don't do that.
Well, Stephen Kramer Glickman, thank you so much for your time, and congrats on the new album. Everyone go out and get that, and you have an awesome night.
You too. Thanks again for having me, man.
Thank you so much. So we got to have a little quick chat, y'all. I'm watching the news and I'm seeing that people are still not taking everything seriously. And the one thing I wanted to really zero in on is we're now being asked to all wear masks. But I wanted to remind everyone that those are an addition. That is not a replacement for anything. We're still supposed to be social isolating, keeping 6 feet apart. And as I've talked about, if you're going to happen to bump into anyone out on the street, outdoors is the only way you really want to be spending any time with someone. Again, 6 feet apart, not touching, not going to anyone's homes. But again, the news is talking a lot about how we're supposed to be wearing the mask to prevent other people from an infection. But some individuals are taking that as permission to kind of let go of some of the other precautions. So just a powerful, powerful, loving reminder that that's an addition. It's just another level of care to help take care of those around us. I have some questions. Again, if you want to join the conversation, you can do so by tweeting at #I'mListening or send your question to the DMs on Loveline's IG page. And this question asks, any advice for people working in the grocery biz? I'm starting to get paranoid about everything at work. Even the slightest cough triggers me. Yeah, first off, thank you for continuing to work. It's such a vital resource. You guys are the frontline workers now. And, my heart goes out, though, because when I do go out to do my own grocery shopping, I do think about the multitude of people that, grocery workers and other service workers are coming in contact with. So, please follow the standard protocol, wearing gloves, wearing a mask, trying to keep a distance from individuals, washing your own hands. But I'd also say just try to tap into the beauty of the fact that you're still working. There's a lot of individuals that are in different positions financially or employment wise. And so I'm thankful that you're able to continue to work and just keep, some tabs on your health. Again, there's no ideal answer for a lot of these things. We're all doing the best we can. We have another question, and this one asks, I'm a teacher and we're doing distance learning. I'm overwhelmed by work and life right now. I'm having trouble sleeping, eating, and doing pretty much anything to take care of myself. Do you have any insight or suggestions? Yeah, I'm thankful, again, that you're able to still offer the education. I have friends that are in school, and for them, it's such a needed distraction from everything that's happening. It also gives their life a little structure and meaning. And again, they, are able to go after the educational goals. But again, I would say the same thing for you. Try to really be present to the beauty of working right now. It's such a necessary distraction. Anytime we can distract from everything that's going around us, the struggles, our own health, it's going to really, really help improve our mental health and functioning. So try to see the gift in that, right? All right, so let's switch gears. We have Michael Buckley joining us. He's one of the OG YouTubers and also life coach. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm amazing. How are you?
Oh, such a good answer. I like that.
I'm laughing so hard, too, because I was wondering if we've ever interacted. And on September 12th, 2017, on Instagram, I wrote, I love you. And you wrote, with a smiley face. So I guess it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't even a full thanks. It was a THX. So
I'm very busy. Very busy. Wow, that's a deep dive. We're going back a few years there, but nice to meet you finally. Hello. So how are you managing right now, mental health-wise?
Really well. I mean, I'm built for this. I'm equipped for this. I've been doing such beautiful work on myself all these years. And so, like I always tell people, it's like whether it's a breakup or a money issue or a global pandemic, I'm still coaching myself and managing myself the same way. I think for a lot of people, though, it's interesting because, it's either a growth opportunity or it sucks. And most people are kind of in the middle and they're not sure. It's like, am I going to thrive? Am I going to write a book? Am I going to start a podcast? Am I going to do all this crap I've been meaning to do? Or am I going to fall apart and wait for this to be over? And most people are kind of in the middle and they're like, well, I could kind of kill it or I could kind of lay on the couch for the next 2 months. And I think the most important thing we can all do is just have such beautiful compassion for ourselves wherever we're at and everybody around us. I think a lot of people are really suffering on Facebook and Twitter, looking at their high school friends and being like, wow, they're not handling this the right way. And so I think that's taking up a lot of mental space for people too. So it's like they're not managing themselves particularly well, but then they're very concerned with how the rest of the world is also managing themselves. So it's like, it's a lot of stuff messy in their brains right now.
And speaking of messy, I know like individuals that work in mental health, life coaching, public health, I think sometimes we can hold the bar really high for ourselves and not always give us room to kind of have our own struggle or fall apart. And I know for me, it was really powerful over the weekend when I had my big day where I was like, I lost it all. I felt hopeless. Things were really heavy. And I was like, allow this, sit in this. Do you give yourself permission to have those moments?
Oh my God, I love those moments. I cried my eyes out on Saturday. So it was also the same. Like I do have a brave face and it's funny. I have a Post-it in front of me that says stay present, grateful and valuable. And that's what I want to do. But in the moments where I need to fall apart, I fall apart and I have a good cry. And I'm a human being, so I'm good with my negative emotions, but then of course I want to lean into my positive emotions. But yeah, no, I mean, I see people, or I got off a Zoom call the other day with a great group of friends and I cried because I was grateful that I had that connectiveness that I was missing, but I did have that sadness. Oh gosh, I want to hug them and I want to play football with them. So yes, I'm very much allowing myself to fall apart when needed, but then picking myself up as needed as well.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful dichotomy that you just brought up, and I've experienced that as well, where you connect with people and that feels really good, and then when you quote unquote like disconnect, the loneliness can swoop back in and feel even more powerful and palpable. I mean, hours and hours of that, but football, really?
I play flag football. I play recreational soccer 4 nights a week. So yes, it's been quite a shift in my activity level. Yes, very sporty. I know I don't present that way. Forgive
I
me.
love it. No, I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about routine and structure, because that's what's coming up for a lot of people. We have our habits, right? Whatever they may be. Even for some people, their job provides that structure. So for those that are working from home or not working or just having a lot more time and space, how do you help them begin to develop some kind of structure and identity around that?
So, I mean, we start with the big stuff, which is understanding what I can control, which is very little. My thoughts, my feelings, my contribution to the world, and just that's it. And then, accepting what I can't, which is everything else. And so it's like we're really focused on the self care right now. And self care doesn't mean, going to get a manicure because you can't. Self care really is, thinking positive, directive, intentional thoughts about yourself. And I think for people who don't work, who are not used to working from home, we're working on really chunking the day because otherwise it just seems too, well, how do I go to work? I'm at home. So it is creating new routine and new structure. And I have clients too who it's like they kind of allowed themselves a week of not getting ready and working in their sweats and sweatpants and their slippers. And then now they're like, but I want to get dressed. It's like, then get dressed, put on your nice outfit and put on your makeup and go to work, because even though you're working from home. So I think creating that. And then I have other clients who it's like they miss the drive home. And I'm like, get in the car for 15 minutes and drive around and listen to a podcast and give yourself that decompressing time. So again, whatever works for you too. That's the other thing. I think we read social media and we do a lot of upward and downward comparison of how people are doing this. So it's like figuring out what do I want and how can I make sure that happens. So for me, I'm definitely chunking my day specifically so it's not running together. And I'm using the time where I used to play soccer at night, which took up 4 nights a week, to do online courses and also make sure I am doing some sort of exercise, even though I much prefer to go to the gym. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. The gym's not going to be open for 2 months. So I am coming up with new routines and rituals for my mental and physical health along with my daily routine.
But I like everything you just said, because what I'm trying to remind people in terms of mental health is get ahead of it. Don't wait until you hit the deep, heavy depression or the boredom or loneliness. Know that that's very possible. Like, I'm trying to normalize that. And so do everything you said ahead of time so as to not get there or make it not be as heavy, right? Chunk out the day, follow up. I even saw a friend who misses getting dressed up to go out. And so her one big day out, which is to the grocery store with her mask, she put on makeup, a ball gown, heels, and it was like the best thing I'd ever seen. She's like, I needed that. And I was like, do what you need to do. Get creative, right?
Yeah. Totally. So yeah, so I'm dressing up like I have a shirt tucked in and a belt, and I'm like ready to go. I shower twice a day. I'm journaling very intentionally. I'm really asking myself powerful questions every day. What is the good news? What am I learning about myself? What can I give today? How can I be valuable to the world today? Because that feels so good versus if I'm not supervising my brain, it's when's this all going to end? How am I going to get through this? So again, I'm really making sure that I'm asking myself strengthening and empowering questions every day.
Beautiful. So we have some questions that came in. I'd love for you to answer with me. The first one asks, I'm slipping up at work because days are blending together. Yes. I've missed 2 Zoom work calls today. I woke up convinced it was Sunday. How do you stay on track? Yeah, the days are just blending.
I said on Instagram story the other day, I was like, happy Friday, which feels like Monday and feels like 2 Tuesdays ago. So right, it is. It's kind of like there's not a great sense of what today is. So I think we have to double down on our calendar organization and using our Google Calendar and all that. So it's lovely that this happened because now it is. Oh, I messed up. Yay, I love when I mess up. So again, you missed 2 Zoom meetings. Don't beat yourself up, but now really start using your calendar effectively. You don't have the normal cues, which are driving to work, getting to work, seeing people. Oh, everybody's going to the meeting. So again, you've got to develop a new internal time clock for yourself and be accountable for yourself. So again, it's a great opportunity, and we're all fumbling a little as we go, but it's also a great opportunity.
Beautiful. I like the internal cues part. Here's another question we have for you, Michael. I woke up this weekend not knowing what to do. How am I supposed to add value to the days where I have nothing to do but watch Netflix? And I'm seeing that a lot. People are waking up and they have a wide open day ahead of them, which when we're very busy, that weekend openness feels great. But for some, there's like a tyranny in that. So what do you recommend to those that need to find some kind of value in their day?
So, I mean, I think that's where we have to just say, what's one thing I can do next? Because otherwise we're thinking too big picture and we're like, I should go get a master's degree or I should write a book. And our brain's like, don't do that. So I think it's like we're either thinking too big or we're thinking too small. And so I think if you're struggling on the weekends, what do I need and want to do right now, and do one thing and then go to the next thing, versus otherwise you're trying to account for 12, 18, 16, whatever hours at a time. So really allow yourself to just ask yourself all throughout the day, what do I need and want to be doing now? Do it to completion and then move on to your next thing.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the tips. And if, I see you in my DMs again, I'll send you more than a smile.
Thank you.
Have an awesome night. Bye.
Thank you.
And I think that that's really important. Again, I'm listening is all about destigmatizing mental health, and I'm listening Stay Connected is to let you know that we're here, we're listening, we're a resource for you, entertainment to keep you laughing and distracted. But again, also giving you those tips, because there's a lot of different levels of mental health struggle that are going to have to become normalized, but there are ways to be a little preventative in our thinking. If you want to join the conversation, you do so by tweeting at hashtag I'm listening or sliding into our DMs on our IG page for Loveline. And right now I have a question. This one asks, my husband's grandparents always host the big dinners for holidays, and they said they're going ahead with Easter dinner this year. As long as we keep the gathering under 10, it'll be fine. I don't want to upset them, but I also don't want to put our household at risk. Any thoughts on how I should approach this? Yes, honestly. We're going to have to be upsetting people. We're going to have to be setting boundaries and disappointing people in service of public health. I mean, it's a big deal. And so I absolutely support you in saying to them, that's a horrible idea. Even if the number is 10, even if the number is 4, the recommendation from all of the public health departments and the CDC is to self-isolate and to distance. And that is what is not going to happen if you're all getting together for holidays. So my heart goes out to those. But again, we can get together via FaceTime, Zoom, It's going to be a different way to spend the holidays this year, but we have to be thoughtful about it. Coming up on our next show, we have Chad Atkins, Executive Director of Paulworks. We're going to be talking about the role animals can play right now, as well as maybe adopting yourself a little companion. And also Katie Martin, who's an LMFT. And we're going to be talking about the way that eating and diet intersects with mental health, especially during this time of self-isolation. We'll be back tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for hanging out with me, and you all have an awesome, awesome night.